people a little bit of your background story. I mean, I said it like before I hit record, but I feel
Yeah.
like between the last time that we talked and now, you have like blown up on the internet scene. Like
Oh
every
my
time
God.
I open Instagram, your face is there and you're doing some amazing stuff. So I really want to I want to give you a round of applause for that, but I also want my people to hear all about you and what you're up to, and kind of like your backstory and all the good stuff.
No, I love how you call it my people. Thank you. Tasha Swartley, born and raised in small town Emmaus, Pennsylvania, like an hour out of Philly and maybe an hour and some change outside of New York City. Went into the Navy right out of high school. So July 25th, 2001, stepped foot into boot camp. Hated life for the next 8 weeks. Um, and then, yeah, retired in August of 2021 as a E7, or in the Navy, we call him a chief. My job in the Navy was Aviation Ordinance, which in more layman's terms is aviation weaponry specialist. Little description, I worked on fighter jets, helicopters, all weapons and components and computer systems associated with the weapons themselves and the aircraft themselves. I would load everything as a team, but I'd had to be able to manage about 250 pounds by myself. And all this while at sea or deployed to various land locations here within the US. Retired in 21, did some traveling, went to Wilderness EMT school, where this next phase of my life decided to blossom from. So in late 21, early 22, moved back home to PA, started working in an ambulance corps. I fell into a very deep and depressed state, which led me to rediscovering trail running. And so I found myself volunteering with Kim Levinsky in the Sasquatch race series, but also running a couple of her races, running some other East Coast races from New York to Florida and Massachusetts, and then found myself networked to Destination Trail in 2023 was my first debut, and Thor was then invented, and at Tahoe 200. So since June of 2023, I have been officially a trail race medic. I've been adopted, if you will, into the trail community. And in the last 2 years, my name has blossomed, and there's words like celebrity and famous that are associated with my name, which is really weird because I'm just some everyday podunk little Pennsylvania kid, country girl, who never saw any of this coming. So mostly what I do now, I embellish in my retirement. I'm a run coach. I now have 3 athletes I'm taking to new steps, and I'm very proud of them. And I work as a race medic. So this year alone, I've already been to Arizona Monster, attempted my first 200 at Tahoe 200. I
Yes,
was
I
just
can't
at
wait to talk about that.
Oh my God. And I was just at Hard Rock 100. I'm going to go spectate at High Lonesome after I get off this call. And then, yeah, and then next is a race that I'm going to try and do, and then Bigfoot and like a couple others in between. So that kind of summarizes the last couple of years. I'm
The
sure
last couple of years, you
people.
went from yeah, you like glazed right over all of the there was so much there. Okay, I just want to quick go back to, you skipped right over how badass that was that you worked in past tense on the ships with the fighter jets with the ordnance. We don't have to go into a ton of that, but I always think about, as a kid, hearing what other people, what the grown-ups did as their jobs, and just to, kind of think about all the little girls, maybe, who knows? I have no idea who listens to this. I still think of this as like me sitting in my office, getting to talk to cool people, and I put it out on the internet and maybe somebody hears it. But in the hopes that there is like some young-ish female who's listening to this, like, I just want to give you a round of applause for having such a badass job on a ship, like dealing with such like high level equipment. That is amazing. So we just get
Aw,
that out of the way.
thanks. No, I mean,
Yeah.
I guess because you do it so long, it's like I
Yeah.
admire, folks who do other things as well. And like, it was my everyday, but like when I speak about it, people are like, hold on, you
Yeah.
did what?
Back
And I
up.
was like, yeah,
Yeah.
my last tour of duty, I was in charge. I had 70 personnel that worked for me. And then I managed the logistics and mission operations, weapons specific on the flight deck, down in the hangar bay, and coincided with some medical stuff. But I had trillions of dollars worth of equipment under my name, to
Yeah.
which was underneath someone else's name. And like, most importantly, I had lives. And
Yeah.
I had 70 persons directly reporting to me, and I had their lives. And it was a motto. As funny as it sounds now, I take it very seriously because I'm very passionate. But my job was to kill the enemy and not my sailors. And
Yeah.
working with weapons, that's essentially like, it's a real thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, every Friday or every day, my goal is to get every single one of my sailors home with 10 fingers, 10 toes, and a smile on their face. And
Yep.
it worked. Some days were a little bit more tired, like more pressing than others, but it worked.
Yeah. I bet. I can only imagine. I mean, that's now, did you ever do any running on the ship? Was that part of like fitness that you guys did on the ship, or did you really only start to run after you were done?
So I went in the Navy in July 2001, and backstory prior to that, I have zero fitness background. So there's that. So when I went into boot camp, I was about as raw as it gets. Like, what's a push-up? Like, let me tell you. And I learned how to do 20 real quick. And then they got better after that because I had to do more. And
Yeah.
fast forward, it was about 7 to 8 years I was in the Navy, and my uniform started getting a little snug. Forewarning, I did not approach my weight loss in the most healthiest manners, but I
Mm.
decided to start running. And running was one part of it, and I won't disclose the rest of it, but running was one part of it. And I ran my first 5K. So in the Navy, twice a year, we're mandated to run 1.5 miles on a timed fitness test with some other exercises involved. And so now I'm like, well, it's cheaper to run than it is to try and like buy new uniforms. So I was like, all right. So ran my first 5K, and I was hooked. And that was 2008. My first half was in 2010. My first full was 2014. I never wanted to run thereafter, so instead I got into weightlifting and missed it. Started right back from the 5K. Worked my way back up to a marathon distance. At the time, I was training to be on a relay team for the Speed Project. This was in 2018-ish, and so I deployed. So a lot of a lot of my running when I'd be at sea was on a treadmill in the middle of the ocean, on top of what I was mandated to do in my job. So, which was a lot of cardio exercises. Like, let me tell you, when you have two people, one on a front end of a wagon, like trailer, it has a handle, and then person on the back, and there's 4,000 pounds in between. One is pulling, one is pushing. You're both getting a workout. And the ship is going like this.
Holy cow. Yeah, I was just gonna say that, like, those are big carriers, but they're not always necessarily like flat and calm. They start rocking and rolling for sure.
Oh yeah. Let me tell you what it was like doing a treadmill on those too.
Oh man.
So, but I trained for my first ultra, absolutely deployed, at sea. I would work my shift, and try to get like 2 days in, but it was all treadmill running. So 2019, I dove into the 50 mile. My friend Carrie, poor girl, both of us were completely naive to the whole ultra world. I had no idea what I was getting into, and she crewed me, and she had no idea what we were getting into. And a guy I was dating at the time too, he came down to spectate. God help him. Like, I have no idea what I look like, but I'm so sorry. And like at one point, Carrie tells it better, but at one point, like, she forced me to eat a sandwich, and I was so pissed. She's like, "You need to eat," and I was like, "F you," and like I was just so angry at the world, and like I just chucked the sandwich or like spit it out. Like I took a bite and I spit it out, and I went, and she's just like, "Get out, go back to the trail, just go." So she forced me out like a mom. I finished.
I
I
have
was
heard
2 minutes to
I have
spare.
heard a version of this story, and yes, like she tells it, her perspective is pretty similar. She was like, she really just wanted you to eat this sandwich, and she was trying very hard to take care of you, and she wasn't expecting the response that you gave her back. And then I think she said something about having to flip the script around and like do the tough love, and so that's when
Yes.
she was like, "That's it, get out, like go."
Yep. And it works. And for me, that's the kind of thing I need. And that was my
Yeah.
discovery for what I need. So yeah, it was 2019. We all know the world went to a complete ape shit thereafter.
Hmm.
So I didn't actually start running trails again until like 2022.
Mm.
Like I retired in 21. Carrie and I ran Bryce Canyon. But then after, I was just like, whatever, I'm just out here to have a good time. And
Hmm.
I've been involved in fitness for quite some years. Like even my last tour duty, in addition to what I was doing with weapons, I actually was a fitness coordinator for the ship. So it's 3,000 personnel I was responsible for in ensuring that like they were doing their part to maintain fitness standards, but also I reported directly to the head honcho in charge, and like his career relied on me and making sure that the
Mm.
sailors are doing their part. And that's kind of where my coaching drive came from, but also like more deep passion for running. So 2019 started it all, and then yeah, here we are attempting 200.
Slippery slope. So wait, go back, because I think you skipped right over the fact that you skipped right over 50K and went straight to a 50 miler.
I did. I ran my second marathon in my training. Like, and seriously, I was just like, well, because the TSP, the speed project, so in this relay,
Hmm.
the team aspect of it, at least the team I was on, I was gearing up to run about 60 miles. So I was like, all right,
Hmm.
well, if I'm going to do this, I talked to my coach at the time, and I was like, how about I just sign up for a 50 miler since you already got me on a plan to do this? And that's where the 50
Yeah.
came out of. Like everybody, like even when I ran my first marathon in 2014, some friends of mine were all like, it's only 4.9 more miles and you're in an ultra. And I was like, no, that's a lot. That's so much. That's so much running, especially after 26.2. I was so
Yeah.
tired. I was just like, never again. And here I was like, man, I'll just go more than that. What's another 24 plus miles?
Yeah.
24.8
No. No problem.
or
No problem. So
23.8.
then
Right?
how did you decide that you were going to skip right over some of the other distances and go straight to 200? Like where is the logic in that?
So I didn't actually. So my first 200 was just this year. I've already.
Mm.
I finished a couple different 50 milers, couple different 100Ks. I attempted 200 miles. Finished third place female in my first completed 100 mile. And then I was like, and that was last year. And then I haven't really run any big races since until late last year into this year. So I did Black Canyon's 100K. And then leading into Tahoe 200, I did 250Ks in a week, one in New Mexico, one in New Jersey. And New Jersey was harder. And yeah, and like, I don't know of any other races. Like, there's real no in between going from, unless you're in like Sedona Canyon, which is 125, but there's no really like in between the 100 to
Yeah.
200. And I've worked
Yeah.
with the 200s now. This is my third year. And I'm like, well, like, I want to experience this. Like, it's not hard and it's not easy. And I keep
Yeah.
hearing all these things that the runners experience. Like, from the hallucinations to these life-changing moments, permanently life-changing moments. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready to experience this. And so I towed the line little over a month ago. A month ago, just a month and 5 days ago.
Not
I'm
that
gonna
long ago. So, how did you decide that Tahoe was going to be the
uh,
200?
I visited Tahoe in 2015. I was in the service.
Mm.
I deployed to an area for training, small town called Fallon. It's east of Reno. And
Mm-hmm.
it was during a winter period, so a couple of us went snowboarding up that way.
Oh, cool.
It was my first visual of Tahoe, and I
Mm.
was just absolutely mind blown of the beauty.
Yeah.
And then coming back to it time and time again between like service or in some of my travels, like I felt drawn to it. And there's something magical about the diversity of the views that you get from the rugged mountain
Yeah.
peaks, snow covered still in June, to the gorgeous lake that lies. And it's not just one big lake. Tahoe's just one lake, but there's like sidestep lakes that are just off of it, and like the ridge line covered in blooming meadow flowers, and just like it's just mind blowing. So you have all this diversity, and it's just like, for me, it was just very eye opening about how life is, because you have hard points and then you have these gorgeous points. But all the while, there's this one particular thing that just keeps you going. And for me, it's the lake, and just being able to see
Mm.
all the diversity in the water, and like it's fluid. And like fluid was a term we used in the service of like, rather than like, I forget the term, but like being fluid instead of flexible, right? Flexible,
Mm.
you're going to bend in just in certain ways, but with fluidity, you
Yep.
can bend in so many different ways, but you always come back to where you started. So for me,
Mm-hmm.
it was just always so drawing, it's Tahoe, like
Yeah.
it's Tahoe. So yeah, that's it. That's kind of what drew me to it. It was just like it's natural diversity.
And so, leading up to it, were you like, did you have a strong sense of whether or not you would be able to finish? Like how, like going, because as a, you've been around 200s for a long time as a medic, and like you have lots of friends who have done them. So you get, the vibe, the deal, how hard they are, how amazing they are. I feel like
Mhm.
sometimes when you get into that place of like signing up, it's been my experience that people have like a real gut, like sense before they go into it of how it's going to go or how it's going to be. Was it as expected for you?
I was honestly scared out of my wits. Like, and I think it's just like it's because it's humbling, right? Like I've seen
Mm.
everybody from their best to their worst, from the most elite to the most novice. And like, but I don't want to predict how I'm gonna feel. So I tried to stay just very neutral. And
Yeah.
like I was manifesting, no, we're gonna finish this, but also being real, like I'm also gonna listen to what's going on in my body. I don't like there's a difference between pushing limits and then pushing limits. And
Hmm.
so going into it, I had my fair share of downs and ups in some of the events I was running to train for it. There was one, Hemis Mountain, like I slipped, and I'm dealing with some hip issues, and like I slipped and my right leg braced me, and like I just started crying because it hurt. And it was more like crying out of fear, because I was like,
Yeah.
where goes everything I worked for? And just all these
Yeah.
insecurities rose of like, why am I trying to do a 200? There's no way, you're not good enough. Like, just call and cancel, and like all these things to extreme. Same week, I go to New Jersey, and everything's fine. So,
Mm.
um, but going into it, I really, really tried my hardest to stay absolutely neutral and not think about like, I am going to do this or I am not going to do this. More so,
Mm.
I'm going to enjoy every single moment. Or as a friend of mine had said, it goes by so fast, although in the moment it doesn't feel that way, but embrace everything. And so I was just going
Yep.
in with this mindset of curiosity and openness, and wildly wanting to explore and adventure and just take it all in. And whatever happened, happened. And I just, as soon as I
Mm.
towed that line, like, and crossed the line, as soon as I crossed the line, like a whole wave of fear. Plus, my dad and my stepmom came out. I had a whole crew. My dad's
Uh-huh.
never been to a running event in his life, let alone
What?
like, no, this is not their thing. So having them there was like, oh, I was like, my dad already thinks we're all nut jobs, and he's just gonna witness his daughter go out and be an absolute nut job and enjoy running these torrentious, like tormenting terrain at some point. And he was such a sport about it. Like, I really enjoyed having him there and him being able to see me in my element. So all these things are just like processing, leading up to it. And I'm like, the way it turned out, I couldn't be any more grateful for.
Mm. Mm. So as the race progresses, like people have heard a little bit about Tahoe from me and some other guests who have been on, but I think like your course was a little bit different than my course, and I think you guys had a little bit more like climbing and descending straight out of the gate within like probably like the first 50 miles. There was a little bit more going on there than I think that we have. But like walk us through a little bit of how like the first couple of hours went. Like how did your days progress?
Yeah. So the race starts at 9 a.m. So which is nice because you can sleep in, kind of get things, figured out, woost off for a minute, and then get over there, and it's like absolute chaos. And
Yeah.
so this year they did do a slight course change. So the last couple years that I've been with them, so 23, 4, and 5, we're doing 2 out and backs. So from Heavenly, and then we're doing a southwest out and back for 100K, and then a northwest out and back for 140 miles. And
Hmm.
but this year, to break up the train of people, we ended up leaving out of the funnel chute and doing a mile and a half loop around the neighborhood there.
Oh,
But which is great because actually this is the first time they're doing it, and it broke up the amount of runners because you just bolt right up a vertical climb of just
yeah.
switchbacks. So it was nice to have that breakup, and I really appreciate that they did that this year. But the first 100K is absolutely brutal, but is the most gorgeous views. Um, a lot of ridgeline running, and then like there's this one section you just come in from some forest and you're in like some high alpine meadow, just like grass field, and there's just mountain all around you. You're just in a bowl of green, and it was so gorgeous. And but for every down, you were coming right back because it's an out and back. So approximately 17,000 feet of gain in that first 100K. Some of it was rugged. There was some snow that we had to traverse over. And it's side slope, so it's like, cool, we're gonna be on this little snow mound here, but like you slip and fall the
Yep.
wrong way, and you're just gonna go. Or some of the ridge line that was going around the side of the mountain. It's a lot of scree and loose rock. So there is like it was sketch in some spots, but I mean, this is mountain running. So it's just
Hmm.
something we were all like, yay, and really bringing it on, or going down into I think it's called Homestake.
Hmm.
You like Armstrong is our first aid station, then you go down and you basically go down into the second aid station. It's all downhill. It's almost all
Yeah.
downhill, which means I turn around and go back. And like, yeah. I remember at one point I was just like whining on the way down because I was like, we gotta go back up this. And it was night
Yep.
off. And at the beginning of the race, I made a deal with the medics and my crew. I was not fixing feet, right? I was not gonna fix any feet. But I was running with my buddy Trevor and Kelly, and the medic at this station he was already busy, and like I was like, dude, just give me the tape. He's like, you're not fixing feet. I was like, this is my friend, and we're trying to leave. Like, just let me.
Yeah.
Just give me the tape, okay? So it was probably the worst tape job I've ever done. Poor Trevor, but like, but I wanted to get us out of there. So like,
Yeah.
doing it from a runner's perspective, like it's a little bit different. And the other runners were all like, Thor, Thor, you're running. Like everybody was cheering on me to get me going. So me, Trevor, and Kelly pushed through night ops. We end up back at Heavenly. We were aiming for like 20-hour 100K. We got there in about 22, 23 hours. So not too far off.
No.
Night ops got slow. But that was like nighttime and coming back is when all of us were really starting to feel the effect of dun 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 Tahoe lung. And this year was pretty excessive. The pollen count was super high. The amount, or like all the cars were covered in like yellow green color, which is not normal this time. Well, at least this year it was normal, but like the previous years I've been there, I've not seen it this bad. And so we get into Heavenly, it's probably like 8 a.m. Super happy that I finally get to come in and take a nap. My crew was just impressed at how well I looked. And I was like, really? I was like, that's great. Because I felt great. I felt phenomenal. My body not once ever felt, even after I'd finished, like I never once felt any soreness, nothing. And so went over, ate like a champ. So proud of myself. I suck at eating, hence the first 50-mile story. So like ate like a champ, and Carrie didn't have to worry about any sandwiches getting thrown, nothing. And I took some decongestion, and I took like a 2.5-hour nap, and I woke up like feeling like a champ. My dad is just like, my poor dad made me a pancake. And I was like, I just want savory foods. Like, I don't even want any more sweets. Yeah. I just want like eggs. Yeah. He's like, well, here's a pancake to take with you. And it's a dad pancake. Like, you have to eat dad pancakes.
Yes, absolutely you do.
Yes. But that's when the cough began. And like, it was just so hard to breathe. Took my pacer, Jeff, out with me, which is Carrie's husband. And we were in absolute mission mode. I wanted to get to the next aid station, which is like 20 miles away. And we were in absolute rage mission mode. And we got there in about 6 hours. There's a point, note to all runners. Unless you know exactly how far the next aid station is, 1, don't say you're almost there, and 2, don't give me a number.
No. We have a rule on this podcast. We do not use the phrase "you're almost there" or "so close." Like we don't do that here. Like that is instant bad karma. Like we don't do that.
Somebody had told Jeff and I, like, oh, you guys got like 3 miles. And I was like, hell yeah. So we picked up pace. And I was like, hell yeah, 3 miles? I don't know how far we went. It had to be at least 2. And we get to an intersection, and it said 3 miles. And I just grabbed my poles, put them both in my hands, and I just started cussing and walking. And it was just like doing the temper tantrum. I was like, just so angry. But in that
people's perception of distance is like so crazy. Like when you're like on a trail, you know, some people have a really good sense for how long they've been running or how far it's been. And some people just have no idea, but they have the best intentions. They want to cheer you on. They want to give you hope. And then they're like, yeah, you're almost there. So close, you know, la, la, la. It's 100 yards or 2 miles or whatever. Meanwhile, they haven't really thought it through. And it's, you know, time-space continuum is all warped, and their estimation is like so far off. That's what's so frustrating to me. When people say that to me, I just stick my fingers in my ears. I'm like, la, I didn't hear you, you know?
You're so much nicer about it, because I'm all like, there's no such thing as almost there. You're there when you get there. And I get like just so straight-faced, and they're like, what? Like, I'm so angry, and they're just like, don't talk to that lady. Like, she's not a happy runner. Like, but even still, like, yes, like I truly appreciate their encouragement and their cheers and all that. But just please don't say those 2 words. Almost there just do not go well in any running capacity. Just say you're doing great. Like, those are the greatest words you can say.
Yeah. If you can physically see the aid station, the finish line, the whatever it is that you're supposed to be going for, then you can say almost there. But if you
Yeah.
can't see it, don't say that.
No, no, please, please. This is a request, folks.
No.
Like, this is not me telling you to
Yeah.
not encourage this. This is just a request. Don't say those words. Like,
Yeah.
but I was
No.
so excited.
So
that,
talk to like
oh,
no,
I
go
got
ahead.
to have my first trail nap out there. It was so amazing.
That's awesome. I'm glad you found an actual spot to lay down because lots of parts of that course, you can't really like, there's not really a spot to lay down. There's too many rocks. There's, you're off camber, off angle. So it's good that you were able to find a spot.
I didn't know. Well, I wasn't exactly like horizontal. I sat down on the trail and like leaned against the rock and I just laid back and it's like a curved rock. So my body was just like laid back with it. I don't know, I was sitting cross-legged and just like laid back. I fell asleep 10 minutes. It was so glorious. In the most awkward position.
That's awesome.
It was amazing.
I mean, when you're tired enough, it doesn't really matter what position you're in. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
So
Nope.
explain to people a little bit about like what Tahoe lung means, because some people will be familiar with it. Some people will be like, I have no idea what she's talking about.
Yeah, so it's not a clinical diagnosis. Let me make that very clear. What we think,
Yeah.
those of us that are at the race scene who have either as runners experienced it or those of us like even crew, friends, pacers, but also like those of us that work the race, like you develop this irritation, this respiratory issue. But what we think it is, and it's very clear in most cases, but physiologically speaking, from the little anatomy that I have in my background, when your body is inhaling particles that are irritants, such as dust from the trail. So, like, for example, Kelly, Trevor, and I were running in a trio tandem, and I took the rear. Kelly was taking the lead. So I was getting the bulk of a lot of the dust that was being stirred up from the two of them in front of me for a long duration of time. That's not to say that, like, the dust isn't being stirred up any other time because the wind blows and whatever. Add in all the rest of the particles in the air, such as the pollen that just happened to be super excessive this year, and you're inhaling all of this, and your body's response to that is typically going to be producing a phlegm of some sorts, or like the body's response, it may feel infected in the chest, and you start to get like what it feels like restricted breathing because you're congested. So like you develop essentially all the same symptoms or very similar symptoms as an upper respiratory infection as a result of the inhalation of this particle, the dust and everything else, because you're out there for hours and days. And so it's irritant for sure. And every person's body is a different response. Add in to all of that, you're at a higher altitude. So folks that are coming in from low altitudes, like below 4,000 feet, you're coming to 8,000 to 9,000 feet, and your body is going to respond producing fluid, which is still not fully understood. You do get a mild case of HAPE, which is high altitude pulmonary edema. And some folks' bodies respond more extreme than others. So the breathing restriction, the amount of congestion that you're feeling, the amount of phlegm that starts to build up and cough out, like it's not a fun feeling, but it's almost like, I don't want to say it's normal, but it's very expected with this particular event. I've seen it not quite to this extreme at other events, but I've definitely seen it at others. But again, like this one, I think it just has to do with the climate and the dryness and the dirt and the dust. And then this year, add in the pollen, and it was just torment.
Yeah. So how long did you kind of suffer through that? Like you started off at one point, and then how long did you battle through that?
I ended up DNFing. I tried. So Spooner is roughly mile 80. My watch said a little bit further, but doesn't matter. At the aid station, Spooner. I came in hot. Like we once we saw like the switchbacks and we saw a sign, like Jeff and I
Yep.
we just like discovered there's more energy in our tank. So we
Yep.
came in like flying. But as soon as I started to settle down again, so I started noticing some of these symptoms at Heavenly. The cough was productive, but the breathing was just really restrictive for me. And but when I got to Spooner, I was feeling fine until I started to calm down again.
Mm.
And when I sat down and I could finally just like pause for a minute, my body started to respond yet again to what was going on inside my lungs. And like, the breathing was already restricted. Like when I left
Yeah.
Heavenly, I actually asked one of our medical personnel just to like take a pulse ox of me just to make sure everything was fine. And so when I got into Spooner, I'm laying down, or well, I was sitting in a chair with my head rocked back.
Yeah.
Not a pretty sight,
That's
but
close
hey,
enough.
we did it. And like ate like a champ. So all I wanted was like warm fluids and like heavy foods. And like Jeff was taking care of, like my pacer was taking care of some things. So I was like, you know what? While he's getting taken care of, I'm gonna go lie down. So my friend Jess laid a mattress down, like a mattress pad and a blanket down on the ground. My buddy Alex brought his dog Clark, and they were my neighbors at one point. So Clark is my like adopted buddy. And like, so I'm laying there and I feel like absolute shit. And Clark comes over, and like most of the emotion that I'm feeling is just absolute pure frustration because my body feels amazing, but I just could not get enough air in to feel like I could move and move well. And Clark comes over and he starts licking my face, and I start crying a little bit. I was like, oh. And it was the first real expression of like negative emotion I've had in 2 days. And like, and it felt good to get it out of my system. But like when Jeff and I decided to pack up and head out, like I felt horrible. I did not feel okay. And I didn't know how else to explain it. Like trying to climb up the hill became worse and worse and worse to a point where like I sat on a log, like, and I had noted, like, I wasn't talking. Jeff and Alex was filming. He was trying to get some stuff for live stream. So him and Jeff were bullshitting. And I'm just like one click at a time, one step at a time with my poles, and like just trying to just stay in a neutral mindset, trying to not let the old lady in, and like just trying to just stay intentional and present and not think about what if or anything else. But progressively, I just kept feeling worse and worse and worse to a point where I vocally said, Jeff, I am not okay. And he was so sweet. He was so sweet. We eventually sat down. We've already begun night ops again. And like, and none of this was bothering me at all, like being out there in the dark and whatever, like none of that. It was when I was sitting on a log in a near tripod style position, hands on the knees, and you're pursed at the lips and you're trying to get air in, and I'm wheezing. And I was like, I'm not okay. Like, this is not okay. And like, I did my best to stay calm, and Jeff was just reassuring, and he's trying to keep me moving, keep me positive, give me outs. And like in my head, I'm like, if we have to do a search and rescue, like if this is as bad as I feel like it is, like search and rescue this, search and rescue, like how far am I away from help? This is a long section, and like, and it's cold, and so it was like, I'd rather be safe right now and make a conscious decision and turn around and go back and reevaluate and reapproach this again next year. And so with a conscious mind, and granted, I was frustrated because my body never really felt any problem, like no soreness. Everything responded so well. I ate so well. But there, again, going back to like, there's limits and then there's limits. And there's only so much that I'm willing to push. And when it comes to breathing, like I'm not willing, like not at all. So we get back to Spooner. We like Candace is there, Jess is there, Carrie. Oh my God, we didn't even make it like completely to the street. And Carrie and my friend Christy, they all just like flying up. These little headlamps are just bouncing in the light. They're like, oh my, are you okay? And I'm like, good. Just I'm happy to be in a place of safety, but I just want to just
Yeah.
like relax for a minute. But I never felt sad about the
Hmm.
decision I made. Because I'd rather, and this is what I love to tell folks is like, look, the race is always going to be there.
Yeah.
It's always going to be there. And I'd rather you, and honestly, it is a stronger decision to take care of yourself than it is to push your body.
Yeah.
And there's just so much more that you can bring to the world when you are here rather than putting yourself through hell.
Yeah.
And unintentional, you know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
signed up the next day to put my name in the hat for the lottery the next day.
Yeah,
So,
you have to come back for redemption. You got to go give it another
absolutely.
shot for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm
That's
going
tricky
out to
because
finish
I
what I
feel like
started.
yeah, I feel like people when we talk about DNFing a race, people are like they have an idea in their head that it's going to be something, I'm going to use the word catastrophic, like,
Mhm.
your knee gives out or break a bone or you trip and fall and, smash your face. But sometimes stuff like this that outwardly, yes, you were gasping for breath, but, and inwardly, physically, you said you felt fine. Like there was no, it wasn't because you were in a ton of pain. It was like I mean, clearly not being able to breathe is a real significant problem. But people don't necessarily think about that. They're thinking about, the breaks, the sprains, the twisting, the feet stuff, the
Oh
stomach
yeah.
stuff. It's one of these things where I think the Tahoe 200 is a unique race in this sense where like people get this, famed Tahoe lung and there's no way to really train for this other than to either, be good at altitude, uh, be in a place where you have dirt and dust and pollen on a regular basis and you're used to
Yeah.
working with that. But then the combination of those two things, the altitude and the dust particles, can really mess with a lot of people for sure. I think I
Yeah.
was looking at the list. It seemed like there were quite a few DNFs this year. And from what I was reading and hearing from people, it was largely due to respiratory issues.
Yeah, and that goes back to like what I mentioned before. This year was just it, even talking with the medical director and a couple of the med folks on scene, like it was excessive this year.
Mm,
There were some folks out there who are very skilled and talented runners, and it got to be too much. Is there tricks of
yeah.
the trade? I mean, yeah, if you have the ability to get an inhaler, absolutely, that's helpful. Wearing a buff over the face sometimes can feel restricted, but there's a way like you could probably pin it to your glasses. To keep it
Yeah.
draped over your face and minimize the amount of particles that get in, through. And these are all lessons, right? Like, it's just a
Yeah.
shame because you do make a good point. Like, we think, and this is for any race, like, it's going to be some shit storm that's going to cause me, like, we're going to go out and we're going to do this, and I'm not going to roll an ankle. I'm not going to do this. But sometimes there's stuff completely out of our control. I mean, I've seen
Yep.
people DNF at races because of rain and they don't like wet feet and
Yeah.
like and I mean I get it. I've run a lot of races in the rain. It's pretty gross. But there's certain comfort levels or of discomfort that you're willing to put through. But
Yep.
like at the end of the day, oxygen's pretty necessary. So
So I'm
like,
curious, when you got back to Spooner, did you do a pulse ox again?
Mm, I don't think I did. I think I just
Oh, I
just
would have been
maybe left it. I wanted to
yeah.
see it, but I think I was just so focused, like, because everybody was just kind of hanging around and we were all just catching up, or they were all catching up, and I was just kind of nodding and drinking warm
Yeah.
fluids, like, just
Yeah.
kind of like, just need to, I just want to, like, I just want to concentrate on
Yeah.
what I can get
I
in.
know, just get it all out. Yeah. I would have
Mhm.
been curious to know if there was a significant difference between the first pulse ox that you did and the second one.
I do regret, and very minimally do I ever regret, but I should have checked my pulse ox at that point since I was having some issues, and I carry
Mm.
one in my med box too. So like I it's fine.
Yeah, no, I was just curious.
Yeah.
The like semi-medical geek in me is like, "Ooh, I wonder what her reading was." Especially if you were really starting to feel it between point A and point B, it sounds
Mhm.
like there was kind of like a big, drop off or decline. That would just satisfy my curiosity.
Well, mine too. So I'm gonna have to do it next year.
Yeah. Well, so it sounds like you learned quite a few lessons from
Mhm.
that, but I'm also curious because you were talking a little bit about, taping your friend's feet. Was it hard for you to come into an aid station and not like take off your runner hat and put on your medic hat and like tend to people when you came into those aid stations?
No, actually, it felt relieving. I love my
Yeah,
runners.
that can
I
be a lot.
really do. Let me make that declaration. But for
Oh,
once, it
no,
was
there's no doubt.
so. I like even Carrie and my crew, like they outright told me like, Tasha, you will be vulnerable this race, okay?
Yeah.
You will let
Yeah.
us treat you like a queen. You will let us do everything for you. You do so much.
Yeah.
And the runners who know me and have seen me at these races, like they were supporting the same efforts. So
Yeah.
to be like in a place where I could actually just let go and be a runner was so relieving. Like I felt very supported, and I can't really explain it much more than that. Like I just felt so
Yeah.
much love as a runner versus just like like no, you're so good at feet. Like come help me. It's like no. You're running this. Like I want
Yeah.
you to experience this with me. And what a joy that felt like.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome because I feel like some people get sucked into, if your role is race medic and that's like your happy place, even when you're running, it's sometimes hard for people to like take off that hat and, keep their running hat on and be focused on that. So it's good that you didn't get caught up in that because I feel like that could have been like a time suck. Aside from
Oh yeah.
helping your friends that you were running with, right? Like you could have gotten sucked into helping or taping other people outside of your specific crew and looked up and been like, oh shit, I'm supposed to be out of here.
Yeah, yeah. No, but it's a true statement. I that would have been me 100% had I not been like force told by everybody like go away. Like
Yeah.
go away. Go be a runner. And they
Yeah.
what like for me that just expresses so much love. Like go enjoy this. Like that for what like even from a leadership perspective, like for so many years, the biggest thing that I ever wanted was for my little sailors to tell me I got it. That's all I ever
Mm,
wanted. So to hear that and be able to kind of like be pushed away, like I know that they
mm,
have it, but to be pushed away just gives me more of like, okay, like I've done my job or I've done
yeah.
what I needed to do. They're amazing at what they do. Let's go embellish in what it is that we do. And like
Yeah.
it's such a great feeling. It's such an awesome feeling.
Yeah. So now having run, like all these different races and dipping your toe into the 200s, like do you have let's put your race medic hat back on. Do you have tips or tricks or suggestions for people when they start to like, work up the chain in terms of 50K, 50 miles, 100, so on and so forth? Like are there things that you think people should start to pay attention to as they start to move up in terms of like feet or like, I don't know, like, I'm not the expert. You're the expert. You tell me.
No, and I'm glad you asked. So first, let me just make a point to all persons that are looking to step up into the next category of running. It is valid to feel scared and nervous.
Mm,
It is absolutely normal. It is absolutely valid. You have every reason to be nervous and scared, but also join those feelings with curiosity and sense of adventure and pride and drop your ego at the door. Like all
mm,
that said, when you roll into these next ones, some things that like I always recommend. So first of all, the longer and longer in distance you go, the more you're going to fatigue your body. So the more at risk that you're going to be for things with blisters or GI issues or environmental issues, whether hot or cold.
Mm.
And of course, like any physical injuries, ankle rolls or joint issues, period, right? And blisters are not only isolated to feet. Trekking
Hmm.
poles tend to sometimes cause blisters
Oh,
in this little webbing, so or on the palms. So all
yeah.
that said, just being mindful and being like most of the way prepared for these events and for being
Yeah.
out for longer durations of time. So a 50K, 6 to 10 hours, 50 mile, 12, right? So 12
Hmm.
hours. 100 miler, we're talking like 30 hours, right? And then, and give or take 200 mile, now we're talking multi-day, and then the 300 mile multi-day. So part of what you can train for is, of course, mental grit, forcing yourself outside of your
Yep.
comfort zone. Get out into the gritty conditions. If you live in wintry conditions, dress appropriately, go expose your body. You don't have to go out there for very long, but get exposed to running
Yeah.
in those conditions. Get exposed to running in heat. Get exposed and running in altitude. If you have a chance to go, if you're at a lower elevation, you have an opportunity to go
Yeah.
to a higher altitude, get a chance to expose yourself to that. You're gonna feel uncomfortable. You should.
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
it's expected. You're gonna be slow in things like heat or altitude. Heat will slow you down. So feeling sluggish is absolutely normal. Being at altitude, you have less air or less oxygen particles per breath because you're at lower pressure and the higher points that you go, you'll start to feel it above
Hmm.
4,000 feet. So you're going to move slower. You might
Yeah.
experience physical things like a headache or nausea. Um, Same with like making sure you're eating. You're going to eat a lot. Practice food,
Yep.
practice real food, practice gels, practice liquids. Blister care. You guys can reach out to me for more specific blister care. I've got it. I just had a call, for example, yesterday with a guy. We just went over like personalized foot care, right? To the best of my
Mm.
ability, right? Um,
Yeah.
and but taking care of your feet, like your feet are the ground. They are the foundation of what keep you moving. So pedicures, soft tootsies,
Mm.
removing the callus, taping them before you race,
Mm.
and using a lubricant over top of the tape. Toe socks are always a recommendation. However, if that's not your thing, just wool socks. And then
Yep.
making sure you have proper gear to accommodate you in all conditions: rain jacket, pants, extra pair of socks, water or water filtration. You can get the bottle ones, or I like to have a Sawyer on hand. All these
Hmm.
little things, they go a really, really long way, and they're lightweight to a point.
Yeah.
I know with 200s, you're looking at like 12-ish to 15 pounds that you're carrying on your back.
Yeah.
Maybe, your hundreds and below, you might be able to carry a 5 liter pack, depending on the type of race that it is. But
Hmm.
a lot of things to consider as you continue to up your ante in the distances. You are going to be, with the fatigue comes more room for injury. So just
Yep.
being mindful of all of that and preparing for what if and hoping for the
Yeah.
best and being mindful of all these things is only going to benefit you in the long run.
Yeah, that's such good advice because I feel like we often focus just on the training, right? Like getting the miles or doing the strength or whatever. And then there's all these other little ancillary things. I say ancillary, but they are very important, like feet and shoes and socks and food and all those other, things where we we see people who just like put them off to the last minute, like, oh, my race is a month away, guess I should start figuring out what socks, you know what I mean? It's like, no, that's too late. Like, we should have been doing that right from the very beginning, so that if whatever you chose didn't work out, that you've got ample time to find a replacement and then practice with that and see if that works, and if it doesn't, throw that out, try a new one. So I
Yeah.
think that's such good advice, especially from a race medic perspective, that people can kind of avoid you, not that they would want to avoid you personally because you're amazing, but like avoid ending up in the medical tent for like a big reason because they've taken care of all that little stuff, right? And yes, if you want help
Absolutely.
taping your feet or need a little this or that, yes, Race Medic is a great place to go and get that stuff. But I'm trying to avoid seeing you guys as much as possible by doing all of those little things. You know what I mean?
Some things, and I do know what you mean. I encourage people to have autonomy of themselves, which is
Yeah.
why I want to project all this information out to you. I want you to feel comfortable in your movement and in your run. I want you to not have to come to me. I also want your hugs, and I want to give you a hug and keep cheering you on. But there's something so
Yeah.
powerful about the autonomy of being able to take care of yourself,
Mm.
not because like
Yeah.
feeling vulnerable or going to a medic should be fearful. That's not the case. But there's just something about knowing
Yeah.
that like I can do this. I am doing this, and
Hmm.
having that like autonomic and independent result, and knowing that like, yes, this is a team effort, but I also can do this. And like, I'm doing this and I'm
Yeah.
doing really well. And like, that's the encouragement that I'm trying to provide by giving you these tips, by telling you like, take care of your feet, take care of this. And, you know, and to add on to it, there's 4 or 5 rules when you get into the ultras. Like for 50Ks and up, you just need to eat, drink, take care of your feet, and move forward. This is all you got to do. When you start to lose any one of those things, you're not going to do really well. So make sure
Hmm.
you're eating, drinking, taking care of your feet, and moving forward. With 200s, now we add in sleep, and some 100s, right? So eat,
Hmm.
drink, feet, sleep, and move forward. So long as you are maintaining those things, you're going to do great. The other stuff is out
Yep.
of our control. Those are the things that are within our control. And those are the things that you have control over. So going back to that like autonomy of being able to like, I can, and you can do those 4 things. You can do those 5 things.
Hmm.
Everything else is out of your control. So maintain what you
Yeah.
can, and you're going to do great. I assure you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's important for people to understand how to take care of themselves because not every race is as well staffed as something like a 200
Mhm.
where they really try to have medics at every aid station because typically the span in between the aid stations is so long and stuff can happen anywhere on the course. And so, for some races, they have one medic, it's stationed like at the start finish area, or
Mhm.
maybe it's a roving medic or something where you might you technically have access to them, but it might be a while. So, can you
Yeah.
really afford to wait to have them tape your feet or assess this or that? So the more that you practice, the more that you get out there and do the damn thing and then
Mhm.
have stuff happen and figure out how to troubleshoot, the better off you'll be, the more skilled you'll be, the less you'll need the medic for I'm going to call it like low level stuff like blisters or
Right.
chafing or like any of that kind of stuff. And then you kind of graduate up to, okay, now I need the race medic for more mid level or high level stuff, which is not to sound like you know silly, but like that's what they're there for. I mean, they are there for blisters and that kind of stuff, but definitely the mid to high level, like kind of crucial, severe things, like that's really, where we want them to be dedicating their time if that stuff is happening, right? Ideally, it's not happening, but that's like an important part of their job.
100%, right? And then it just goes back to like feeling that sense of self and being able to take care of yourself. And I recommend to folks, like, if you have the opportunity, take a WFA or wilderness first aid course, or if you already have a
Mm,
medical background, you can apply for a wilderness first responder course. They teach you like wilderness medicine, whereas like
mm,
what we resort to calling it is front country versus wilderness country, or front country versus
yeah.
backcountry medicine. Front country, your hospital setting medics are not familiar with how we handle certain things out in the field. For example, blisters. So having this sense of self and knowing how to handle these certain situations that rise, the little niggles that you may get, your hot spots, your blisters, some chafing, maybe a mild GI or maybe a mild nausea that's not debilitating just yet. Like those mild things
Mm.
can be handled by you and can be comfortably handled by you when you do have the knowledge background. Um,
Yeah.
are we there to help? Absolutely. Please don't. I don't want anybody to think that we're
Yeah.
negating wanting to help you. We want to help you, right? We want to see you through the course, but also having an
Yeah.
understanding of like how to handle certain situations when you are on your own in the middle of a race course in the middle of the woods.
Yep.
And being able to walk into an aid station and be like, this is what I did. You know, do you mind helping me? I've already gone through all, steps A through Z, but I still haven't found any reprieve. Can you give me a hand? Great. This
Mm-hmm.
helps me loads. Or,
Mm-hmm.
and then saves that time, you know, in the event that an emergent situation does arise. Because have I
Yeah.
kicked a person out of a cot? Yep. Because I've had to put somebody else in a cot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because these things they're real, right? And humans, we're permeable beings. Like we are exposed to so much, and we don't know what's going to happen to us. So, yeah, and you make
Mm-hmm.
a great point with all of that. Is like we are here for you. We want to help you, but also like take pride in you taking care of
Yeah.
yourself. Like, how rewarding that is to see you guys doing it and then like hearing how awesome it was. Like, dude, I sat on this log by a lake and I was just popping my blisters and sipping on some gin and juice.
Yeah.
Stories, like, oh my God, I'm so
Yeah.
proud of you.
Yeah. I didn't say that to like dissuade people from going to the medics for blisters. Please, nobody listening to this take that. Like I'm saying, I'm agreeing with Tasha. Like we all start out at some level. Like it starts with learning how to take care of your blisters so that you're so proficient in that that the next thing you go for is like, okay, I'm beyond what I know how to do. Can you guys as medics help me? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's where, and you kind of want to like again to have that autonomy go up the different levels. I can't think of what the next one would be beyond blisters, but like I don't know, an ache or a pain, like an an undiagnosed ache or pain that you're like I don't know what to do, like tape this for me, some
Yeah,
sort of KT tape magic, like you kind of want to work your way up that hierarchy so that you become more autonomous and you can take care of yourself and you don't have to always like I'm going to use the word waste time, but I don't really mean waste time. It's like
yeah,
spend excessive amounts of time in the medic tent that you could be doing all
of
the,
course.
4 or 5 things that you said before, right? Like on course, moving forward, eating, drinking, walking, doing all the fun things that you came out there
Yeah,
to do in the first place. Yeah.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Such great points.
Yeah. Anything else you want to share with these guys about what you're up to, what races you might be at, things
Ooh.
that you think they need to know?
So I already mentioned I'm going to be at Hilo today, so I'm just going to go out there
Yeah.
and spectate.
Fun.
I'm supposed to be running Aspen 50K, so Aspen Backcountry 50K on August 2nd.
Ooh.
But I just had some PRP done in my hip, so I don't know how I'm going to feel in the next 24 hours. Thank you, bursitis. And listen, check yourselves, folks. Just check yourselves. But I will be at Bigfoot, so I'm going to be working the Bigfoot 200 race the first 2 weeks of August, and then rolling down straight to Leadville, which I'm honestly, shout out to Brian Reynolds. I don't know if we have a story. Time for a story. I met Brian at the
Yes, we always
TRE
have time
last
for
year.
stories.
Oh my God. Okay. So I met Brian at the TRE last year. Poor guy. I feel like such an ass. So I don't know who he is. I didn't know he was a double amputee. I just saw that he had one blade and like, I look at him and I'm just kind of like, and folks who know me know that I like to make fun with things. And I look and I was just like, do they make you guys fun socks? Like, he's an amputee above the knee, like his thighs. And I was like, do they make fun socks? Like, this is a serious question. Why do they not
Yeah.
make amputees fun socks with their leg socks, right? Like,
Yeah.
why is
Mhm.
this not a thing? We have toe socks. We have individual toe socks. Why don't we have thigh socks? So then I find out he's a double amputee, and I just like wave of emotion. I was just like, I just made an absolute fool of myself. We befriended each other, which is even cooler. So Brian's backstory is he's attempted to run Leadville before and had some issues with one of his blades the last attempt he made. He has asked me to crew him this year. I'm scared out of my mind because this is a whole different level of runner. He is a very strong
Yeah.
athlete. And then I'm dealing with like parts of the body and like an object, his blades,
Mm-hmm.
being a double amputee above the knee. Like, I'm like, oh my God, this is a whole different realm. But
Yeah.
he's so open about it. He's so transparent about it. He's such a kind dude. He's also a coach with Chasky team endurance. And like the dude is ridiculous. And I couldn't be more excited to go to Leadville than to help him achieve a dream.
Yeah.
And especially in such a unique position that he's in. So right after Bigfoot, I swing by Leadville, gonna crew Brian, and then I start school that following Monday. Um, I'm gonna put it out there, first time live. I'm going to school. I'm gonna finish my associates of general science, and then I'm applying for PTA school.
Love it.
So yeah, so the goal
That's
is to get
awesome.
into physical therapy, which kind of do as a race medic and maintain my EMT license and wilderness certification. So yeah, so we're going there.
That's amazing. Yay. Congrats. That's so good.
Thanks.
That's
Thanks.
amazing.
And then I'm going to see your
So
lovely
cool.
face and Carrie and Jeff's lovely faces and Jess's lovely face and so many others at Moab. And I don't know, I may be going to Mammoth. So we're sitting on the fence with that one.
Cool.
But yeah, that's the next few months. Never,
A lot of
never a
windshield
dull
time
moment.
for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
Oh,
awesome. Well, congrats on all of your races up to this point, and I can't wait to hear, about Tahoe next year. Clearly, that's a far, far way off. But every time you do a race, especially every time you do, a really challenging race like Tahoe or any other, really tough race, you learn a lot, and it always really helps. Around here in this world, we're big fans of a DNF because it helps us to learn a lot about ourselves, the race, like things we did well, things we did not so good that we can improve on next time. And they're just learning opportunities. And so it's not something that like we shy away from talking about because it's
yeah,
definitely helpful. Because, you know, especially in the world of social media, we don't always hear people talking about DNF so much. People try and like bury it deep or like, push it off and not talk about it. So I think like the more we can kind of normalize the fact that, yeah, not only did you DNF'd, you even said that you were like really fine with that decision. You weren't sad about it or whatever. Like clearly being able to breathe was more important than finishing the race. And so that's kind of like the decision tree, the hierarchy, the decision hierarchy that you have to kind of go through in a race. And I think the more opportunities you have to do that and like test yourself and challenge yourself and try to figure out, okay, where on the spectrum, where on the continuum of like dangerous do I think this falls, and like what am I willing to risk and what am I not? And like,
yeah.
for some people that would have been an acceptable risk and for some people not so much, and
Mhm.
everyone is different in that sense. So I know that you will finish it next time. Now going into it, you'll have all the information, you'll have all the practice, you'll be like totally set to go. But in the meantime, I'm super pumped to hear about all the things that you're doing. I can't wait to see you at Moab. That's going to be so much fun. Hopefully you won't need to take care of me, but like it'll be great to know that you're there if I do need somebody, maybe even someone to just give me a swift kick in the butt and like push me out of the aid station. That would be great.
That's you.
Yeah, I know you do. I know you do. Well, I appreciate you taking your time out of your busy schedule to come and chat with us and share all of your tips and tricks and your adventures. And yeah, maybe we'll do a group. I've been thinking about, okay, how can we do like a group post Moab, like, because there'll be so many of us there, you, me, Jess, Carrie, like how are we gonna encapsulate that? So I'm still thinking about how we will like convey that experience to people.
Be
But
amazing.
yeah, I think it would be amazing. Yeah.
That would be totally
Yeah.
amazing. I count me in. Like, check please.
All right, good. Yes.
So in.
Awesome. Well, Tasha, where can people find you? Because I know you're like a big deal on social media now. So tell everybody where they can find you.
All right. It's so weird to hear that, especially like those
Or
two
do you want
words.
to be anonymous?
Like I'm not. Well, there's no way in hell that this personality can be anonymous. Like I walk into a room and everybody's like, "She's here." Like even if I'm quiet and nobody knew me anymore, like just somehow I wake up a room. Um, maybe it's a loud voice.
It's
But
not a bad
Wonder,
quality to have.
tell that to my sister who's like inside voices, please. Um,
Okay.
but I have two Instagrams for a lot of foot care tips and tricks, and I'm very behind on updating some things. But Thor Trail Race Medic. I also make blister kits, which you can find on my Etsy page, which I have the link attached to it. So please reach out. I also
Cool.
make earrings, ladies and gents.
Ooh.
But Wonder Lost Unicorn is my other page. Both are interchanged. So Thor Trail Race Medic or Wonder Lost Unicorn, please connect with me. I love everybody. It's so awesome to like connect with the rest of this world, like globally, literally in this community.
Yeah. That's
So,
awesome. That's awesome.
thanks.
Well, we'll post links to all your stuff down in the show notes so people won't have a hard time finding you. And I will see you in roughly 85 days as I count my calendar.
I'm so
Something like that.
excited. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I can't even contain it anymore.
Me too.